World War One broke out in 1914, and the entire world changed, including Ireland. Pádraig Pearse, the leader of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, decided this was the time the Irish should strike for their freedom while the English were tied up fighting the Germans in World War One. And Pearse felt that the Germans might even help the Irish, send weapons, maybe even troops to help them. This never happened. But nevertheless, they started this conspiracy to have an insurrection on Easter weekend in total secrecy. While Pádraig Pearse and the Irish Republican Brotherhood were doing this, James Connolly had his own plans. Well, here's a picture of the Irish Republican Brotherhood soldiers getting ready. But James Connolly had his own army to defend Ireland called the Irish Citizens Army, and he made a very big decision. There's the headquarters of the Irish Citizen Army in Liberty Hall in Dublin. And Connolly decided to hoist the flag of Ireland over Liberty Hall, which was basically an act of war, to raise a flag other than the British Union Jack. This flag now was a very new flag for Ireland that James Connolly was really pushing. You remember in an earlier speech that I had talked about the green flag of Ireland. But this was a new flag, tricolored flag. You had green on the left, but on the right is orange. And if you recall, William of Orange, King William of Orange, was the great hero of the people of Northern Ireland, the English settlement, the English colonized settlement of Northern Ireland. Their hero was King William of Orange, who had crushed the Irish back in the 1600s. So their color is orange, and the green is the color of the Irish Catholics, and have white in the middle, peace and unity between the green and the orange, a pretty extraordinary flag. And Connolly really loved this flag because James Connolly never believed that it was really a sectarian war between Catholics and Protestants, or even a national war between Irish and English. More than anything, he believed it was a class war because the Irish, 95% of them were working class, exploited industrial workers and very poor tenant farmers. And he wanted to actually unite with the working class of Northern Ireland, the Orange people, and even unite with the working class of England to come together, unite, and free the workers from the oppressive conditions of the oligarchs. So he pushed this new flag. This, in fact, is the flag of Ireland to this day. And Connolly wrote his final words. He wrote an article. He was a journalist called The Flag of Ireland, just very shortly before he died in the Easter Rebellion. The Council of the Irish Citizen Army has resolved, after grave and earnest deliberation, to hoist the green flag of Ireland over Liberty Hall as over a fortress held for Ireland by the arms of Irishmen. This is a momentous decision taken in the midst of the most serious crisis Ireland has witnessed in our day and generation. It'll send a thrill through the hearts of every true Irish man and woman. It'll send the red blood coursing fiercely along the veins of every lover of the race. We are out for Ireland for the Irish. But who are the Irish? Not the rack-renting and slum-owning landlords, not the sweating and profit-grinding capitalist, not the sleek and oily lawyer, not the prostitute journalists, the paid liars for the enemy, not these, but the Irish working class, the only secure foundation upon which a free nation can be reared. The cause of labor is the cause of Ireland, and the cause of Ireland is the cause of labor. Labor seeks to make that free Irish nation the guardian of the interests of the people of Ireland, and to that end would vest all property rights in that free Irish nation as against the claims of the individual, with the end in view that the individual would be enriched by that free Irish nation instead of the spoiling of his fellows. In these days of doubt, despair, and resurgent hope, we fling our banner to the breeze, the flag of our fathers, the symbol of Irish redemption, a sunburst shining over an Ireland reborn. When the Irish Republican Brotherhood saw what James Connolly was about to do, they realized they better bring him into their conspiracy, because if he acted before they were ready, he could blow the whole thing. So they joined forces, the Irish Republican Brotherhood and the Irish Citizen Army, joined together and joined the names of the two armies into the Irish Republican Army. The IRA was born. And James Connolly was going to be the leader, the first leader of the IRA, because he was the only one of the leaders who had military experience. All the middle-class leaders had lived nice, cushy lives, and they never had to join the military. Connolly was raised in the slums, and he had to join the English army out of desperation. So he became in charge of the IRA. Now, the Irish Republican Brotherhood had 1,200 men in their army. The Irish Citizens Army of James Connolly had 300, but they also had women fighters, because socialists are always ahead of the curve when it comes to women's rights. Women in the Irish Citizen Army, and James Connolly's top right-hand lieutenant was a woman, Georgine Markowitz. And she was his lieutenant and helped the Irish in the battle against the English. So James Connolly also, there was a total of about 1,500 fighters in this new IRA. And they were armed basically with shotguns, pistols, and a few rifles. And these 1,500 fighters were going to go up against a division of the British Army armed with 20,000 men armed with machine guns and artillery, basically a suicide mission. Connolly, though, had studied urban insurrection for years, and he just realized that, and he had studied particularly the French Revolution, if you put up barricades in all the streets and force the imperial army to fight a bloody hand-to-hand combat, and if you could hold out long enough, you might be able to, they might just leave, because they can't afford to lose too many of their soldiers. They need them to fight against the Germans. And Connolly also believed that the British would never use their artillery in Dublin, because the English owned all the buildings in Dublin. And they were capitalist pigs, and they wouldn't destroy their own buildings. Well, Connolly was wrong. He was dead wrong. The British used the artillery, and this is what Center City, Dublin, looked like at the end of the Rising. But nevertheless, the IRA went forward with their insurrection that began on Easter Monday, April 26, 1916. And I will go into that in the next part, the next speech.